The Untold Wisdom of Gandhi's Experiments with Truth, Lessons for a Lifetime. When we open the pages of Mahatma Gandhi's, The Story of My Experiments with Truth, we step into a world not only of history, but of a man who lived by principles that still shape humanity today. What makes this autobiography so powerful is not that Gandhi presented himself as a saint, but that he revealed himself as a human being, flawed and constantly learning. His story reminds us that greatness does not lie in perfection but in the courage to confront imperfections and transform them into strength. The central theme of Gandhi's life was his devotion to truth. For him, truth was not just about avoiding lies, it was a way of being. It was honesty in thought, purity in intention, and alignment between word and deed. Gandhi believed that truth is God, and by striving to live truthfully, he aligned himself with a higher purpose. He shows us that truth is not always comfortable, but it is always liberating, and when one chooses truth, it becomes a compass through even the darkest challenges. Alongside truth came Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence, or ahimsa. But Gandhi's nonviolence was never passive. It was active courage, the ability to resist injustice without hatred, to fight oppression without violence, to challenge wrong through moral strength. He teaches us that true power does not come from domination but from restraint, patience, and the refusal to harm even when provoked. His life tells us that nonviolence is not weakness, it is the highest form of bravery. What stands out in Gandhi's autobiography is his relentless self-discipline. He experimented not just with politics but with food, with simplicity, with vows of celibacy, with service. Every experiment was a test of the mind and body, reminding us that freedom begins with mastery of the self. Gandhi inspires us to look within and question. How do my daily habits align with my deepest values? Am I living in a way that reflects my convictions, or am I enslaved to desires, distractions, and social pressures? His story teaches us that small daily sacrifices create the foundation for monumental change. Another powerful lesson from Gandhi's life is humility. Despite leading millions, Gandhi never portrayed himself as a flawless leader. Instead, he was brutally honest about his doubts, his mistakes, and his failures. This vulnerability makes his story timeless, because it shows us that leadership is not about never falling, but about getting up again and again with renewed determination. Gandhi teaches us that humility is not thinking less of yourself but being transparent about your humanity while staying committed to your ideals. Gandhi's journey also underscores the importance of service. His life was dedicated to others, to the poor, the oppressed, and those without a voice. He reminds us that true fulfillment comes not from accumulating wealth or recognition but from giving ourselves to causes larger than us. His experiments with truth always circled back to service. To live truthfully meant living for others, seeking justice, and embodying compassion in action. Throughout the book, Gandhi's experiments become mirrors for us. His experiments with diet show us how what we consume affects our spirit. His experiments with law show us how justice must be rooted in morality. His experiments with politics show us how nations can be guided by ethical leadership rather than greed. And his experiments with family and community show us that transformation begins in our closest relationships before it can ripple outward into the world. The greatest lesson Gandhi leaves us with is that change begins with the self. Before leading a movement, he first disciplined his body, purified his heart, and trained his mind. His autobiography urges us to start where we are, with what we have, and transform our own lives before expecting the world to change. He believed that if one individual lived truthfully, it could inspire a household, a community, a nation, and eventually the world. As we reflect on his story, we realize that Gandhi was not offering us a manual for perfection, but a lifelong invitation to experiment with our own truth. His message is not confined to history, it speaks directly to us today, in a world filled with conflict, dishonesty, and division. He challenges us to embrace truth, courage, simplicity, humility, and service, not as abstract ideals but as practical daily practices. By the time we finish this journey through Gandhi's autobiography, we are left with the realization that Gandhi's legacy is not simply in what he accomplished for India's independence, but in how he lived, how he experimented, and how he proved that one person's inner transformation can awaken the conscience of the entire world. His life is not just a story, it is a mirror for our own, reminding us that the path to greatness begins with small, daily acts of truth and love.